What's up, everybody? Welcome to Strength Solutions Podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe, like, tell me I'm awesome, and tell me Nathaniel's not that good. Our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Email, if you have future fitness questions, strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Then social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, Strength Solutions Podcast. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Okay, dude. This topic is near and dear to my heart.
Aww.
Because I was broke.
Well, okay, I get that.
So, a lot of people comment on, poor people are draining the system because they're buying poor foods. And, there's one thing I saw in the video that made a lot of sense to me, right? From, let's just say it's a person who is day to day, they're not really getting SNAP. They have $5 and they're like, you buy nutritious food for $5, right? Well, let's just say you buy some carrots and something else. That's already your $5 for the family of 5, right? And you're like, well, that's not a lot of calories. Yes, it's nutritious, but not a lot of calories. Where you could buy this ultra processed food, maybe a couple of pizzas, and it's more calorie dense, not as nutritious, but it'll get you by better because at least you have calories to consume.
I think that we kind of, especially in a conversation like that, it really comes down to, it's not really about the nutrition so much. It's about like trying to live, right? And at that point, it's not so much about, okay, well, how power packed is my ancient grain, right? It's like, how many calories am I getting from this? And yeah, I guess, maybe you could argue rice or something like that. That does have a lot of calories and stuff. But if you're trying to feed some kids, right, or something like that, like,
okay, even if you say rice, right, the body processes carbohydrates fast. Yeah, you can consume a lot,
true,
but it's not actually nutritious itself as well, right?
It's the same thing, and it's like, okay, well, if I go buy, 10 little honey buns or something like that, right? It's like I'm not getting anything from it, right? So it's this, I guess you're right. Like, it is a kind of a balance between the calories and the nutrition. I think the video that you're referencing is the one where they were talking about like, you could go buy, it's $1.28 for carrots, and it's $2.28 for a bag of spinach or something like that. And the guy's like, yeah, I guess you technically have food, right? But it's like, you've got this like salad, that number one isn't going to taste good. It doesn't have a lot of calories with it, right? It might be nutritious, but it's also not a lot. You know what I mean? Like, a bag of carrots and a bag of spinach, like, how far is that really going to get you? He was like, for the same amount of money, I can buy like, a box of 20 bagel bites, right? Or something else. And that's going to feed me. It's going to feed my kids. It's highly calorically dense, right? And so, yeah, we have these conversations where it's like, oh, poor people just spend their money bad, on bad food and stuff. And it's like, you had a really good point. I forgot who we were talking to, somebody else also. But we were talking about the fact that they were like removing, funding for like food stamps or WIC or things like that. And they're trying to give you, like meat or things like that. And dude, you made a point that I like had never really thought about. And you were like, what if someone doesn't have an oven? What if someone can't pay for electricity that month and they don't have, gas or any of their energy products or something? Like, how are they? Okay, yeah, you gave me carrots and spinach and ground beef, but like, I can't even store it in my refrigerator because I don't have one, and it's like, dude, there's people that are in those situations and they do require highly processed, shelf stable foods that can stay there for long periods of time. And it's not because they suck at buying food. They just don't have the resources.
So if you don't have the money, I think this is where, if you can fit it in your macros, like, maybe if you get something that has a little bit more protein in it, figuring it out and doing that, that's probably a lot better than just eating bagel bites all the way through.
Sure.
Also, if you are struggling with this, there's more dynamics than just like, get this food and you'll feel better. You got to remember, if someone is in a stressed state, not just physically, but mentally, they're going to crave high carbohydrate things, high calorie foods. Yeah. And this happens with everyday people who are privileged enough to purchase food all the time. It happens to me.
Yeah.
If I'm stressed, I can even tell you my spending habits change.
Wow.
Because I remember before going to clearance when I didn't have enough, that thinking like, well, it's the only time I'm going to get it. So therefore I make this decision and I get it now because it's on clearance when I don't really need it. So when we talk from a position of like somewhat privilege, it makes a huge difference to kind of the idea and concept of it's easy to make this decision. There's other things that like, for example, like if you were selling a home, if you're a person who's selling a home and they need to buy a new home right away, you're going to make a stressful decision and a decision that may not be better for you than someone who has a home. They can get another home and they don't have to worry about selling their home so fast. It just, these decisions, you get forced more upon you as you have more day-to-day stress and think about just survival.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good point. Like you said, talking from a place of privilege, I was just having a conversation earlier about like when we were looking at, places to prospectively have strength solutions at, and we were in a position where we were like, wow, we really want to do it. We really want to do it now. And there were a couple places that we could have made a really bad decision on,
Yeah.
And it's because we were in that, state where, maybe we were frustrated or we were just really excited to kind of get going and things like that. And so we were luckily, none of those ended up turning out and we're at the place we're at now. But even in that situation, right, where it's like, okay, you can kind of change perspective on that. And it's like, okay, we're looking for a home, right? We don't have one. We're here to just take whatever we can get, for any opportunity. And you can end up making a poor choice.
Now, if you are a person who has a little bit of funding and you want to make those best decisions, my suggestion is always chicken and ground beef. And the reason ground beef is red meat has nutrients that chicken doesn't. And it's cheap. You could buy in bulk. You can make a lot of it very simple and very easy. Eggs, if you have chickens, that'd be awesome. Egg whites, like those kind of things that are like cheaper and high protein with like your main source of carbohydrates should probably be a rice. It's the cheapest thing. Easier to like measure, easier thing to do.
You buy large quantities of it.
And then as far as vegetables go, man, just figure out which ones you like the most. And then with fruits, buy in season. It's crazy. Like when strawberries drop so low, I was like, I'm going to get strawberries.
And even then too, like if they're in an area that has like a local produce place or something like that, like I was talking to one of my clients about here in San Antonio, there's a grocer called Chicho Boys, and they're like the wholesale public outlet for the larger grocery and produce place here. And dude, I mean, they're just trying to move product, right? Like you can buy a fucking crate of mangoes for like $5.
Yeah.
You get a fuck ton of them. And so like if you could find a place like that, right, where you can buy in bulk, large quantities of stuff for very, very cheap, again, buying in season, things like that, that's probably a good option to do.
And then if you're in a privileged situation, you could do whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Like,
yeah.
And you got to understand, like I think the best part of training is seeing people's lives that are different and how do you communicate to them? How do you talk to them? How do you get them to do the things that they need to do? Because you need to help people in different ways. And that's what we're trying to do, I think, here on a bigger scale. So we just gave 3 different ways. Like if you really don't have anything, it might be best for you to do if it fits your macros kind of thing. And it tries to fit those bagel bites. I mean, you may have to eat canned food because you don't have an oven. So don't worry about like, I have to like look this way, but maybe figure out how to control your calories, lift weights, try to do your best. Like don't stress out about being perfect and being like this fitness influencer.
No,
because you don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Then if you needed to be budgeted, here's a way to get your protein. Like if a college kid who has a little bit of money or even like you're just in that growing stage of your career, hey, this is how you can save money and budget through like ground beef and chicken with rice. Like you just got to keep it very simple. And then when you get to that point of life where you're kind of privileged, you can kind of do things that are a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think about like everything's freaking political in food and nutrition. And I had great hopes for RFK to kind of like change the health industry, but he's become this political situation of like, we're blaming seed oils. Right. In Japan, they do seed oils, they do carbs, but yet they have a low obesity rate. Obviously, keto is not the issue, and you can look at a lot of evidence-based people, and some people just don't do well with seed oils.
Sure.
It's okay, right? I don't do well with corn, right?
Yeah.
Nathaniel does not want to be next to me when I have corn.
And you don't want to be next to me when I drink milk.
Yeah, I don't want to be next to me. And I think we need to get a point with nutrition is it's very individual. We need to see, and I literally had this conversation with my client too, is it's not just about eating and getting food in your stomach, but what does your body actually absorb and use? That's the big part. And I think too many times it's like, well, oatmeal's Dave Asprey, oatmeal's like peasant food or whatever, and it has all this stuff. And I was like, well, if it's the only thing they can afford, they actually digest it pretty well and use it. Why not use oatmeal? Like, again, it's from a privileged kind of perspective kind of thing. And nutrition is very individual. Where's your background from? Where's, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a client who was from Nigeria. I was like, well, why don't you eat more roots? Well, because carbohydrates are bad for you. I was like, eat some roots because they eat in their culture. And all of a sudden she was feeling better. I was like, look, you're fine. It's not carbohydrates are bad for you or anything like that. Let's figure out what works for you in your day-to-day task.
That's a good point too, to look at it from like a cultural standpoint. I don't really think I've ever thought of it like that, where a lot of the times we kind of
Mexican food's not bad.
It isn't, right? And like Mediterranean food and all of those things, but also looking at your own background, right? Okay, if I'm Hispanic, right, I'm probably like literally genetically predisposed to be better at digesting certain things that are in my culture, right?
Tequila.
Exactly.
My dad says works for everything.
He does say that, and it's hilarious. But it's similar, It's like, okay, well, if you have a background from the Middle East or you have a background from whatever else, you may not do well digesting foods that you see on Instagram that are, the superfood of the week or whatever it is. You might be better at digesting grains, or maybe since they
do better with goat versus or lamb,
right, or red meat, right, like from a cow or something like that, because they don't really eat that for religious reasons, right? And so it's like it's all these aspects that you got to think about, and it's not always just here's
a simple answer,
right? Yeah, and we see it all too often. I was talking to my client the other day, and she's had weight issues in the past and things, and now she's trying some different stuff, and we were talking about nutrition in general, about how to do this if you're taking medications now or things like that. How do we adjust what you do normally, right, into this new kind of phase where we're going to have to switch things? You're probably going to be taking less calories, but how can I still keep you on the right path?
Yeah, and going back to RFK and hoping the thing he would fix would be how insurance companies run the whole medical system.
That's not happening.
I mean, it's even getting worse.
They probably wrote him a big old check, and he was like, "Oh, never mind."
It is so
actually
horrible.
He was like, "Oh, never mind."
I mean, I do think they got like a good part of like try to be healthy first, right? But you still need Western medicine. Like at the end of the day, I think it was Neil deGrasse we talk about. He was like, well, it didn't really happen until there was medical intervention that we lived longer.
Right. Yeah. Right? And it's funny because, I think it was a while back we made that point where he was saying, the life expectancy was 30, and that was before cars existed and everybody was eating whole foods off the ground and animals off the land and nobody was living for a long time. It wasn't until advances in technology that we are actually able to live longer, reduce disease, things like that. But for some reason we want to, remove all of that. And it's like you said, become really political, and we're demonizing food dyes and all this stuff. And it's like, okay.
I agree. Try to go as natural as possible.
Right. I understand it.
But it's not the bulk of the problem.
Right. And I feel like we're focusing too much on a symptom, right, as opposed to the cause.
Okay. If I was in charge of the health health secretary, whatever.
The
First thing I would say is, okay, on one end of the spectrum, these people are right. We need to work on habits and culturally working out, learning how to eat properly, and fund people who are coaches like ourselves and some friends that we have that deal with coaching in a habitual way, along with therapy with it. How can we get funding through insurance that way to help develop a better culture for people to go through that process? And then on the other end is to how do we allow doctors to make decisions and not insurance companies and not be profitable. So like the thing is they're fighting each other instead of like, look, they're both right on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
They need to work together so that way we could get this end working together, culturally changing the way we eat and move, which will help lower insurance premiums, right? Supposedly, right? Don't believe that's how it's going to work. But
no.
And then also creating laws and regulations that allow doctors to take more control of their patients.
Man, I was trying to pull up a post that one of my friends had actually posted, and he was talking about doctors and things like that and how insurance works and stuff. And he was like, wouldn't it be awesome if every doctor was like, I'm just going to treat people the way that they should be treated. If they need this medication, I'm just going to give it to them.
Yeah. Are there going to be crooked doctors? Yes.
Yes. And it's like, but if there was like this large general strike of physicians, right? And they were just like, no, screw it. I'm tired of doing what insurance companies do. I'm just going to do this instead. Think of like the change that would happen super fast, you know? And it's like, but I don't know, maybe it's the money or something going on with it, but that hasn't happened. And it's not like it's not within their power to do so. I don't know, you know, it looks like that from the outside. I don't know what it looks like from the inside, but it's a nice thought to have.
Yeah. And so the next thing I want to go through is there's 2 videos that I saw, and I kind of want to bring them together. And the first one was this woman's like, I'm a strength coach. Right.
Oh yeah.
There's that one. And doesn't look like a conditioning fitness influencer and all that stuff. Now let's say she did post a bad video because sometimes she's not paying attention in the video. But I want to start with that one. Like, you don't judge a book by its cover. So she could be a really good strength coach. You would just never know. But she doesn't look the part, quote unquote. Yeah. And I think it's a big fallacy because someone looks away or they're in this field. You think they know, right? So another thing is, there was a post about a doctor saying, I get a lot of people tell me that I don't know anything about menopause because I've never experienced menopause, right? And all because somebody hasn't experienced doesn't mean they don't understand from a different perspective because they've helped people through it.
Right.
And so I'm going to go to sports because that's what I like the most. Is the best head coaches a lot of times only went to high school football, but they coached other people. Most of the best coaches are not the best athlete that ever was. Why? Yeah. Because they can't see from another perspective.
And arguably some of the worst coaches are athletes.
Yes.
Yeah. And
because they think they did it this way, that's how you need to do it.
Right. It's funny because now I'll speak to something that I know, right? So it's like music. So like learning an instrument and stuff like that. Some of the best teachers that I've had are good at an instrument, right? But let's say, you know, like for example, I had a mariachi teacher. He was awesome. He was really, really good at trumpet. Could he play the other instruments? Yeah. But could he teach how to do it? Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. And same thing. It's like my brother, he knows because I say this all the time. He's incredible at the guitar. Okay. Super, super good. One of the best that I've ever met. Can he teach you how to play guitar? Absolutely not. He has zero patience. Can't wait, doesn't understand why you can't learn it right away, all this stuff. Yeah. And so as a child growing up together, I was like, God damn, dude, like I can't learn from you. I gotta just take it on my own. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm not good at every instrument, but I love to teach my daughter how to do stuff and all these things. And when our muralist was here, I guess I won't say his name, but I'm sure everybody will know. But when our muralist was here, I was talking to him and we learned that he was a strongman competitor, pretty successful at it. We were talking about training because he was like, I can't train people. I can't do it. Like people have asked me how to do it. And he was like, I just don't know how to tell them this is what I did, but it's probably not going to work for you, you know? And he was like, cause I have people ask me like, how do you do that? Can you teach me how? And he's like, no, like I can't really, because I don't know how to teach you how to do what I'm doing. It's just, it doesn't work like that. Right. And
his brain doesn't function that
way.
And
it's funny because Austin said the same thing. Remember? He was like, I can't fucking, he was like, we can't do it right away. I don't want to do it. And I think it takes a certain person to be able to be a coach, right? To be a trainer. And I was telling him too, I was like, you know, I get it. Like if someone came to you and was like, do you lift? You know, I knew right? Because I know what a strong man looks like, right? And he walked in and I was like, you are not just some dude, right? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, I saw him and I was like, oh, his shoulders are way too
big.
big.
I was like, this guy is massive.
I don't know, imagine that's from just painting.
But but painting is cool, bro. Painting is cool. Yeah. But I imagine, because we were talking and I was like, I bet if someone saw you walking down the street, they'd just be like, look at this dude. You know, he probably never works out. He's just some big guy. And same thing for us. I was like, you know, I understand I'm in a field that appearance matters, right? But I was like, I think a lot of people discount it because you don't have that outward look. And arguably, again, it's like a bodybuilder, right? Who's maybe, 6% body fat and super jacked and all this stuff would probably not be able to coach you to get to what they've done because they just don't know how. It's not, in fact, I mean, they were coached to get to where they were at, right? All bodybuilders have coaches. Yeah. And I bet you that their coaches do not look like bodybuilders.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably pretty fit.
Yeah, but they're not going to be at that same level, right?
Yeah.
Because it just
genetics plays a role.
Yeah.
I mean, I was telling you earlier today that, I mean, I've seen people in the gym who are just like killing themselves and stuff like that. I was like, man, dude, I'd be dead. Yeah. Most people will be dead after the workout. But this person, you just tell, physically gifted, explosive, and I bet you they would train people if they were a trainer that way too. Yeah. And they're like, why can't you do it? It's just
I'm not you, bro.
Yeah. We are not the same.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Just like,
don't eat me.
Me and Nathaniel are not the same.
We're not, right?
I'm better.
Like, we were kind of joking around with Angel too, and we were saying like, oh, it'd be Nathaniel's hair, and Edwin's shoulders, but Nathaniel's legs, and it's because we excel at different things,
Dude, we'd be the ultimate. I do all the pushing, you do all the pulling.
We got a fuse.
So you got to spend some time on the floor on a mat. You said you really want to talk about this mat. You're like, I'm going to be like, this mat was amazing.
So what story did I tell you that I was doing? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let me lock in here. So you had this box here for a little while. I was like, what the heck is this thing? Took it out, looked at it for a second. There's this product that I've heard of before. I just hadn't seen one in forever, called a Shakti mat. I'm not even trying to spell it. Shakti mat, right? It's fairly small. I'm sure you pulled it. Yeah, it's actually really little. I was expecting, when I first rolled it out, I was like, oh, I was expecting like a yoga mat, super long and huge. But it's about, like, if you were to hold it on the back of your shoulders, it would probably go down just to like the lower lumbar, and that's about all it reaches. It's got these little discs on it that almost, the best explanation is they're almost like cleats. They've kind of got spikes, and it's sharp popping out of them. It runs off the same concept. Again, I've been telling people, like, in the Middle East and things like that. I'm sure we've all seen feats of people laying down on nail boards for hours at a time and, not getting up, and it's super uncomfortable and all this stuff. At its core, it's acupuncture, right? And it's pressure points. It's creating tension in certain areas in the hopes, right, to relax and release tension. And I was reading about it because it comes with this manual, and I was kind of reading it online and stuff and researching about it because I was like, what really is this? How does it work? And it was funny because it was kind of saying, like, the tension that you feel at the beginning, right, when you lay down onto it, and your body is immediately like, get the fuck off this thing. Like, it hurts. It's super sharp. It's really uncomfortable. And it's funny, in the book, it has like a sort of a walkthrough. Like, it's like, okay, the first 10 seconds, you're going to feel like this. The next, minute, it's this and that and that. And the goal is at some point to lay down onto it for 20 minutes or more, which sounds insane. First time I laid down onto it, I was like, oh my God, like, you're like, your shoulders are all tight, and you're like almost like trying not to lay down on it. You're like pulling away, and you're like trying not to sink into it. And I was like, I'm gonna try and do it for about a minute. After about a minute, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. But it's funny because I was laying on it, and the whole time my brain is going, get off, get off, get off. And I had to keep telling myself, like, don't listen, right? Like, just stay on it, just stay on it, just stay on it. I got up after about 2 minutes, and I remember telling Camille, I was like, that was actually kind of like interesting, an interesting experience. And I was like, I'm going to try it again. So I took a little break, and this time it says you're actually supposed to like lay it down on a bed. You're supposed to use it like before bed to like relax tension and stuff. And it said on the research that it was like the tension that you feel at the beginning is a reflection of the tension that you hold inside your body. So the tension that you're laying down, and you're like, oh my God, like it's really tight and I don't want to lay on it and stuff, is that this is all the tension that's holding inside of you. Lay down onto it again, place it in a better position. And I was like, I'm going to try and go for 20 minutes. I'm going to just say, fuck it, and just see if I can do it. So I go through it, and this is what I was telling you. I was having all these thoughts in my head as I'm going through, and the time is kind of continuing. And so I lay down, and again, your body's like, get up, get off. This is hard. It's uncomfortable. And it made me start to think about things that we go through in life. So many times when we reach like a difficult situation, a hard thing that we don't want to do, we immediately want to remove ourselves from it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do this. I want to get away from it. I'm going to pretend like it's not happening. I'm going to turn away. But as you sit and you go through, right, the process of this uncomfortability, there's this reward at the end. After about 10 minutes, dude, swear to God, the needle feeling almost like seems to fade away. You don't feel every disc anymore. It's like this warmth. You start to feel super relaxed. I'm not going to pretend like it was like euphoric and this life-changing experience or anything, but I fell asleep. I fell asleep on it. Wow. Which is insane because after, the first minute, you're like, what the fuck? After that, I couldn't have been more relaxed. And I was like, this is what it's like to go through a difficult situation. If you sit through it and you let it happen, right? You allow yourself to feel the uncomfortability and you continue to push through. You don't get out. You don't quit. You get the reward at the end, right? You feel better. You feel in control. You feel the relaxation, the relief of putting off this task or situation that you really didn't want to deal with, when you could have just done it. Mm-hmm. And you would have been out of it faster. You would have felt better afterwards, as opposed to just getting up and off and never allowing yourself to actually get comfortable with uncomfortability. This is an interesting experience, man.
Yeah.
I've used it again afterwards, this time before bed. And it's like, dude, you like 20 minutes, you get up off, I folded it up, put it away, out. I love it, man. If you guys have never tried it, I recommend, trying to go find one out and think about these things as you're doing it. And I bet it'll make a lot of sense, especially when you're physically feeling extremely uncomfortable.
Well, I'd rather fall asleep another way.
How's that?
Have sex and then roll over.
That's a lot nicer. Hey,
I was just saying, it's a good ending.
What if you roll over onto the Shakti mat? Oh, wait, what if you have sex on the Shakti mat?
Oh, no.
Oh,
no. Oh, dude, that's too funny. Let's talk about your favorite subject.
What's this?
Intermittent fasting. You love it.
I do like it.
So everybody's like, you should intermittent fast. Oh.
Yeah.
And so there was a recent study that broke down that intermittent fasting doesn't harm muscle loss nor speeds up fat loss.
Right.
So what's the point of intermittent fasting?
Why do we do it then? What's the point?
I think the best point to use intermittent fasting is to help with what is real hunger. To help with, I don't need food. So the people I see who benefit the most are people who think I need 5 meals a day, like a bodybuilder, or you need to separate yourself from food, or they're constantly thinking about food, that it's okay that you don't have food. And honestly, that's where I like to use it for myself. I like to use it on my cut too, because it restricts my window of which I can eat.
It's funny because I've talked about this before. Like I sort of intermittent fast unintentionally. It's just sort of the way that I do.
Loser.
But it's during cuts and during moments where I'm exceptionally hungry, right, throughout the day or things like that. I try to remind myself that feeling hungry or that type of little empty feeling is almost like more of the natural state of what a human being should be in.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's okay to be hungry, and it's okay to be a little hungry, for long periods of time. Every time you feel hunger, it doesn't mean it needs to be satiated immediately. In fact, I would think that that's actually not beneficial.
I don't know. I like my ice cream.
We talk about the concept of food noise, right? With like Ozempic and things like that, and how it kind of eliminates that. This is sort of that holistic, unmedicated way to learn how to reduce food noise on your own, right? I think it's actually a good practice to do, like you said, not in terms of weight loss. And I think too many people try to use it for that. But it's more of a behavior, right? To, like you said, try to remove yourself from that, create a different relationship with food to where you're not seeking it out all the time. And yeah, I mean, you could do it structured, right? And be like, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I don't eat and I do this and whatever. Maybe that might work for some people. Maybe the structure of it is just too much.
Maybe you just don't eat till like lunch.
Maybe you don't eat until you're just like hungry, And so like, but I think a lot of people feel hunger and they think this needs to be fixed.
So how many times is it actually really hunger and not boredom?
Actually really hunger and not boredom, or stress or frustration or being happy. I was talking to one of my clients out there and we were talking about food relationships and stuff. And she was like, I remember when I was a kid, I would like go with my dad, and after we'd go see a movie, he would take me to go get a banana split. Or I remember times where, like we'd go watch a movie. We'd go watch a movie. We'd be sitting at home and I would sit on his lap and we both eat ice cream together. That's a positive memory, right? That's a nice, happy memory. And I was like, I think the problem then becomes, because that's a positive food relationship, I would say. But then it's like, is every time that you're sad, do you search for that? And now every time you're sad, you want to be happy and you want to remember the times that you were with your dad and you felt comfortable. So you go get a banana split. Right. And now we've created a negative relationship with the food, right? A negative reinforcement, right? And so even a positive situation can sometimes create a negative reinforcement with food. And so, yeah, creating that intermittent fasting, it's like I said, talking about being uncomfortable. Sometimes you just got to be sad and just be fucking sad. And you can't fix it with food, right? Or like with me, when I was stressed out, I would try to fix it with obscene amounts of cleaning. And it would ruin my day, dude. Ruin entire days. I couldn't go do anything. And I remember talking to my therapist about it. And oh man, I feel like I'm about to cry right now. But she would be like, no matter how much you scrub the floor or clean something or whatever, it doesn't fix the problem. Yeah. Right. That you're trying to change. No matter how many banana splits you get, it's not going to make you happy. And it's like those types of things. And so intermittent fasting, I think in those situations would help because they make you sit in the uncomfortable spot. Be okay with it, and then you can have
allows you to break that habit.
To break the connection, right?
Yeah. You mentioned Ozempic, so we have 3 studies today. We got a bonus one.
All about Ozempic?
No. The first one is
slinging odds, man.
The Next Ozempic, a 4-in-1 breakthrough lasting weight loss. Combine elements of 4 hormones into a single drug. Researchers hope to address not only obesity, but associated conditions like type 2 diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. So this study was Tufts University.
Okay.
And scientists are
That's
racing.
Not a real place, bro. You made that up.
Tough stuff.
It's from Benchpress University?
Scientists are racing to prove weight loss treatments beyond drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, which are effective but plagued by nausea, bone loss, and regain weight. Tufts University chemists have created a multi-target compound that goes beyond the usual GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon approaches by adding a 4th hormone, PYYY. This quadruple is designed to aim to deliver weight loss results on par with bariatric surgery up to 30% without invasive procedures and could change the future of obesity. So they're just making it more potent.
Yeah. That's funny because I'm like, okay, yeah, go ahead and add more hormones. And I don't think that'll have any problems.
So I really think, I think that's not even the cutting edge part, right? So I think it was just interesting. What I really want to talk about is they're creating that drug with a myostatin inhibitor. So by doing that, you're not going to lose as much weight. And so they've done where I think it's called retatrutide. It's like a GLP-5 generation, I think.
Okay.
And you're able to lose weight and put on muscle at the same time.
Damn.
And they did it in mice and stuff like that. I don't know if it's in human trials yet.
Just fucking lean ass mice.
Dude, for real.
All
And imagine like being able to lose weight and build muscle. That's like not possible.
That's the holy grail right there.
Right. But I'm going to tell you this. At the end of the day, you still have to work out to gain the muscle. And you still have to build a relationship with food, because at some point, are you going to want to be on this forever?
See, and that's, I think, the main question that we're not answering. We can continue to make all these medications, and that's awesome, right? I think it is a good thing. Again, we were just talking about technology. I'm not going to go back on what I said. I think that there's tools for specific people to use. But at the end of the day, it's like, again, I'm reading this and I'm like, awesome. We can do diabetes and cancer and cardiovascular disease and all this stuff. But again, we're like treating a symptom of a bigger problem, right? Same thing with my client that I was talking about earlier that was starting medication. I was like, you're on the right path. But the thing is that we still have to learn. You still have to make habit changes. You still have to do all this stuff, because if you don't, nothing really changed, right? And the moment you get off and you don't have some sort of exit strategy, if you've learned nothing, if you've made no habit changes, if you haven't changed your relationship with food, if you haven't done intermittent fasting or gone to a therapist or something like that, you're just going to get off and go do the same shit.
I wish some people would go more into therapy and like figure out what has caused them to go there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't think about that in conjunction with like working out, us working together to figure out the physical and mental end. And our specialty is teaching people how to create barriers. Like we've talked about the barrier, just go walking outside your neighborhood, come back, habit. See if you really want it. Don't put it in the house. If you really want the chips, you'll drive to the store or not. Like
I bet you're not going to do that. Hey, I don't know. We may be able to get something going with that soon.
Study number 2, exercise may actually reverse reverse your body's aging clock. Collectively, these findings suggest that increased leisure time, physical activity, and reduced sedentary behavior may have beneficial effects on epigenetics. So new research that exercise that may, or was this Journals, Impact Journals LLC.
Whoa,
came from a journal. New research suggested that exercise may not make you feel younger. It could actually slow or even reverse body's molecular clock. By looking at DNA markers of aging, scientists have found a structured exercise like aerobic and strength training has stronger anti-aging effects than casual activity. Evidence from both mice and humans shows measurable reductions in biological age, with benefits reaching beyond muscles to heart, liver, fat tissue, and gut.
I think this brings up the argument of like the people who say, just go do stuff, right? As opposed to having like an actual structured programming, right? And there's those two, and it's not just those two, right? But those are two like camps, right? Within that.
I think there's truth to both.
I think there is. Yeah. I think what they're just saying here is that moving and just going for a walk or just doing whatever is good, but you could probably get better, right? If you were structured, if you had a strength training program, if you had a cardio program or something.
And you could have this structure while still doing fun things that you like. Like that's the thing.
I think the goal or the main like part of this is that I think with programming and structure is that you can continuously progress, right? You can see progress, you can structure it in a way to where you're constantly getting better. And that's what makes the biggest difference as to, I go for a walk for a mile every day. That's awesome, right? But if you're not progressing,
getting better at that
right?
walk.
If you're not getting better, if you're not going faster, you're not doing more walk or something like that, then you're not actually
or just like perfecting how you feel during your walk.
Yeah. Or, all of those things. If you're not progressing in some way, then it's still great. And I'm not bashing on people that love to go for their daily walk or something, but with structure and programming, you can just make sure that you're continuing to benefit.
Yeah. I think a big part of like structure and programming is not just a progressive overload, but there's different ways to overload. And we've talked about it in previous episodes, not just adding more weight. It's getting a better range of motion. It's being able to control it a little bit more. It's being able to slow down tempo and control the same weight. there's so many different ways to progressive overload, and that's what structure allows you to do. And also, I think what structured workout does, it allows you to focus on different parts of your body that you may not focus on with, like, I'm going to walk every time. Well, now I can work on my shoulders, make sure I don't get arthritis in my shoulders. I bring blood flow to different parts of my body, which allows my body to heal.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why a structured approach would help out a lot, because what people end up doing is we're habitual creatures. And I've seen this in the gym. They'll do the same exercise at the same weight, the same thing. It's better than nothing. Yes. But if this person was to structure it and maybe like go away, do a couple other exercises and then come back to those exercises, they'd be much better off. And there is things to, and I don't think the anti-aging is just in the like tissue level or like the tissues in the body, but also the brain, because being able to do different skill sets requires the brain to function a little bit differently, which requires you to like be alert.
Build more pathways.
Build more neural pathways, right? So I threw this last one in because I find it interesting, right? It says, the midlife crisis is over, but something worse took place. The change may be driven by declining mental health of younger people, not improvement in middle age. So once universal feature human psychology, unhappiness hump, the midlife crisis appeared to be replaced by a new trend. Mental health is the worst in youth and improves with age. Data from US, UK, and dozens of countries suggest today's young people are driving this shift, facing deeper struggles than previous generations.
Interesting.
And this came from, it says PLOS. That was a source. So I know in the study, it used to be a U-shaped curve, right? So you go, as you age, you start becoming unhappier. Then you reach about like mid 30s, mid 40s to 50. That's when you're at your unhappiest. And then you would get happy again. That's how it was. Now it's showing at the highest peak is you're the most unhappy when you're young. And then it goes down from there a little bit. And just to think the young brain is very vulnerable. So that's the problem with this, right? Is the young brain is very vulnerable, and then they don't really reach that ever being productive. They become addicts or whatever it's going to be, right? I think the big thing that's happening is this concept of our generation needs to do a better job of parenting social media and being the example, and not allowing like these big, like red pill or trad wife, these extreme concepts to take over these kids' lives, because that's not how the world works. Not in these extremes. Yeah. And so they haven't experienced life. So therefore they don't think through these things, and they think, oh, it has to be this way because this is what this person said. Right. I think that's part of the struggle. And then part of the struggle too is I think we need to stop looking at like the worldview and how can I affect what's right in front of me.
Yeah, we talked about that like more on the how do I affect my community, right? My immediate community around me. How can I help those people? And I wonder if another aspect of it too is because of like the shifting in like job culture, where it's like there's no more like careers, and you know, like you were saying, that peak of like maybe 40 to 50 is like where you're at the peak of your career and it's really stressful and hard and things like that. And then you kind of retire and you go down. But now people aren't really having careers or staying with companies for long periods of time. So I wonder if that shifted earlier, right? Because they're scrambling to try and figure it out, or, they can't get jobs, or they're going to school and nothing is happening and all of that stuff. So you get unhappy there. And then as time goes on, it kind of levels out.
And then I think another big part is the generational talk. In tribes and things in the past, the older would give wisdom to the younger. That doesn't happen because the younger is running social media. Yeah. And then the older is letting media be controlled by younger people because that's where the money's at. And so there's no like someone my age telling a younger man, like, dude, you're going to be fine. Just focus on these things, grow yourself, learn. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. The reason red pills exist, and we had this conversation yesterday. Like, I told people I had a girlfriend who was like almost like 6 foot at one point. Right? Oh yeah. And they're like, well, how'd you do that? Or whatever. Like, like I was telling the guys, like, it's charisma. Like, and I wish I didn't have 6 figures. I worked at Target and I just had charisma. I was confident. And
you had riz.
It is, yeah. Even studies today will show like most Gen Z girls are dating, but most Gen Z boys are not. And we did a disservice to these boys and not like teaching them how to talk and teaching them how to get away from video games and stuff like that. So we need to go back and make sure the older generation is giving wisdom. And I think a lot of relationship issues go back to I'm getting evidence from this guy who's in his 30s versus somebody who's in your community right away, who's older and has a lot more wisdom to give you a better guidance because he knows you personally. And I tell you all the time, I read these Reddits and people are giving advice like they knew these people. But what they're doing is they're bringing their personal experience into it versus, look, what is your personal life really like? What are these situations? I know you a little bit better. Hey, it could be this, this, and this. We don't know. And then what can you control?
That's a perfect example of what you just said of like allowing media, right, to control how people are being talked to or learning. Mm-hmm. Like, why didn't this person go and talk to their dad or their mom?
Because people who are young don't have anybody to talk to. Mm-hmm. Like I talk to my kids all the time. It's almost like a lot of their kids' friends don't have their parents to talk to. There's no trust built in the relationship that they can feel free. Like I'll tell you off here, my daughters tell me things that I'm like, oh, like I would never tell my parents this. Mm. And they feel so comfortable telling me these things. And I'm just like, I wish more kids had a safe space. And I think it goes back to the episode. I think back at the front of the episode where we're talking about like poor people. It's a safe space. Like they need the reason they don't make the best decisions, it's not a safe space. And I think we need to go back into
the Maslow's hierarchy.
There's no safe space right now. And with media, the whole political crap that's going on, whether you're Republican or Democrat, I don't give a shit. Like there's no safe space at all. And everybody's yelling at each other. And that's what's causing the fall is we stop looking at people as humans and we're looking at people as transactions.
There you go.
All right, guys. If you like what we're doing, we're on Apple, Spotify. You can rate and view us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe, like, and check us out on our website, strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Free blogs, guides, programs for purchase. Email strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Strength Solutions Podcast. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Deuces.
See ya.
Out.